Any jackass can walk around with a gun now and
They make a lot of babies. People are allowed to humanely euthanize them. I've seen videos, and there's a lot of videos. There's TikTok and reels all over the place. And they have a dog, and they go around shooting the iguanas, and then the dog jumps in the water, and it's cool. The city has some rule somewhere saying you can't kill any animal, even a cockroach. And you can't kill any animal, even a snake in the city of Margate.
Imagine my surprise when I planted floral gardens to enjoy, only to have them devoured the next day by iguanas.
You're denying me my right to protect my property.
Nile monitors, which can grow to just over 6 feet and about 20 pounds, have been living in South Florida.
An avid gardener, she ended up breaking her ankle and falling down and ended up losing her house and going to a nursing home because of it. Could end up, in a court of law and maybe Supreme Court, whatever. And then you got Florida Wildlife Commission on one side and the city of Margate standing on the other side.
Margate does not allow you to kill any animal, not even a cockroach. The state of Florida allows you to kill invasive species, which one of them happens to be iguanas. The state actually encourages you, when you come across certain invasive species, to kill them. As far as Florida law is concerned, they're already allowed to do it. You can kill them anywhere in the state of Florida.
BB shot a hole right through my front window. I don't think it's a good idea for people to walk around with guns shooting. Any jackass can walk around with a gun now and buy something and shoot something.
Maybe I'm an optimist. I don't think we're going to have a bunch of people running around Margate buying air rifles to go and kill these iguanas.
They use a scope on a rifle. It's a chip shot. I mean, really, a 10-year-old can pick it up and,
You would not have a problem with a 10-year-old going out and shooting an iguana?
Well, guess what? People can still walk around with guns. You want to know why? Because in Florida, you can carry a gun to and from fishing openly. Someone could go right now with an AR-15 and walk down and fish, and there's nothing we can do about it. But we're worried about a couple people shooting the iguanas or the pelican.
Worried about getting sued when we change the law and someone gets hurt because the city of Margate chose to do that.
We're just compliant with the state of Florida. How are we going to get sued? Happy hunting.
The next item is item 7A, is an ordinance of the city of Margate, Florida, amending Chapter 6, Animals and Fowl, Section 6-1, City Designated Bird Sanctuary, Section 6-25, Injury to Animals, Chapter 33, Police and Law Enforcement, Offenses and Miscellaneous Provisions, Article 1, Offenses, Miscellaneous Provisions of the City of Margate Code of Ordinances, to provide for non-native invasive iguana species exception to wildlife sanctuary, providing for capture, humane euthanasia, and trespass, providing for exceptions and prohibitions, providing for enforcement and penalty, providing for conflict, providing for severability, providing for codification, providing for an effective date. This ordinance is before you for second reading, and a public hearing has been scheduled at this time. And I'll just reference that there is some shaded text in there which shows the changes between first and second reading that were requested by the commission. Thank you.
All right, as a public hearing, do we have to swear anybody?
No.
What's the wish of the commission?
So move to approve.
I will second for discussion.
Go ahead.
I'm split on it. It's a tough one because for a few years now, I've been talking with the city manager and PD about this. And it's not just a Margate thing, it's a state of Florida thing. And growing up in the outdoors and hunting and fishing and being around firearms responsibly, I want to protect people that want to do that responsibly and also protect and allow people to do what they want on their own property. The state of Florida has a list of invasive species, and iguanas are one of them. They do cause a significant amount of damage, and they, trying to say this the most PC way, but they make a lot of babies, and they spread around. So it is a problem, and people are allowed to humanely euthanize them in the state of Florida. And that's been a law, and there's, Now, on the other hand, what you're not allowed to do is to go onto someone else's property without permission and shoot them. And there have been problems in the past with people going down canals from their boats, shooting into people's yards. I've seen videos. I'm not going to say it was definitely Margate. It looked like Margate, but it was definitely somewhere in the local area. And there's a lot of videos, there's TikTok and Reels all over the place that come up. Once you watch one, they keep feeding them to you. But there's people that like charter boats. They bring on guests that have no experience
They
with
do
these
it in
firearms,
Margate.
and they have a dog, and they go around shooting the iguanas, and then the dog jumps in the water. And I mean, it's cool, but you can't be shooting into people's yards. Cool as in if you were like in the C-14 in the Everglades or something, not in an urbanized area. So I have some concerns about that. It's tough because unless an officer is there and witnesses it, and we don't really have like patrol on the water, it's like before they made the fireworks illegal. Unless you were there and saw them shoot it, it was virtually impossible to do it. So where I'm split, and I'm leaning on approving it, is because all we're approving is to allow a property owner to kill an iguana on their own property. It's legal in the state of Florida, but the city has some rule somewhere saying you can't kill any animal, even a cockroach. So it's not just about iguanas, it's the iguanas, or that's the issue that brought this up, but it's really any invasive species, whether it's a rat, whatever, okay? A snake. Technically, you can't kill them in the city of Margate if you come across a snake on your yard. I think that if we don't pass this, we're still gonna have people driving up and down killing iguanas. It's not gonna stop that. But what we are gonna stop is a bunch of residents concerned, not in necessarily like they're concerned for their life, but it is a health issue. They do attract disease and they do cause significant damage. This was brought about, there is an HOA, where they are, instead of paying thousands of dollars for a trapper, doing it themselves. And they're only going on properties where they have permission from the homeowner.
Not true,
So,
not true.
well, I'm not gonna, look, there's two sides to every story. Someone writes an email saying something different, whatever. But the way we're passing it is that you can kill iguanas. State law, they can't go on other people's property. So if they do it, they're breaking state law, and it's a misdemeanor, I believe. And it depends, because you're using a firearm, and it depends what you're shooting at and where you are, could actually be a felony. But again, if I vote no for this, then you can't kill any animal, even a snake in the city of Margate, and it's stopping people from euthanizing humanely a nuisance on their property. But they're gonna do it anyways, whether this passes or not. And I think that's a separate issue though, and I do think that we should maybe reach out to Fish and Wildlife, because I think that's really their wheelhouse with the hunting regulations and everything, and maybe they wanna do a little sting in Margate on the Stranahan River, which is the canals all here around Margate. So that's kind of my thoughts on it.
Any other member of the commission? I'm going to wait, and then I'm going to read you letters from people from Paradise 4 who are asking me not to vote for this and telling me exactly why. But anybody on Zoom right now of our commission?
Not the commission.
Okay. So if anyone in the public would like to get up and speak, this would be your time to do so.
I want to inject some reality into this discussion. The first thing that I haven't heard amongst any of you is, what's the penalty right now? If I shoot an iguana on my property, what's the penalty?
I think $50, but I'm not sure.
Whoa, holy mackerel. And then you got to have an officer out there to actually catch them. So, some of this discussion is ridiculous. It goes into too deep of an issue and without facts. So let's inject some facts. First of all, an air rifle is not a firearm because it doesn't send a projectile using an explosive force. An air gun is not a firearm. Secondly, fact, under age 16 may not use an air gun without an adult supervision. That is a misdemeanor. We already have a law for that, for children. If you're worried about children with an undeveloped frontal lobe not using the gun correctly, we already have a law against it. So if they're under 16, they don't. But guess what? If they're under 16, they can have knives, hatchets, machetes, bows and arrows. those are legal, and they don't have to have adult supervision. We got a lot of wackiness going on here. A BB weighs about 3.1 grains, which is it's about 2/10 of a gram. A 9mm weighs between 115 to around 130 grains, 30 times heavier than a BB. Let's talk about kinetic energy. A BB is fired with about a 1 foot-pound value of force. A 9mm generates 300 to 400 foot-pounds of force. In other words, a bullet is 400 times a BB. So this thing about being frightened about BBs, projectiles, and it's not going to kill you. It may sting a little bit if you're in close proximity, but if you're any reasonable distance, it's not going to get to you. It has much less kinetic energy to really be concerned about. A kid with a rock can do more damage than a BB. So, I mean, we're talking about something that I think we should allow. And let's say someone has rodents, and they want to get rid of the rodent problem on their property. If they put out rodent pellets and they poison the rodents, is that humanely? They're going to be tortured. Their stomach is going to be bloated. They're going to be running for water. That's torturing an animal. Are we going to stop people from killing rodents on their property? No, we're much too far reaching into this. Let's use some more common sense.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public?
And I have lived in Paradise Gardens for almost 10 years. When I moved here, I thought my dream had come true of actually retiring in Paradise. Imagine my surprise when I planted floral gardens to enjoy, only to have them devoured the next day by iguanas. I had no idea how much destruction these creatures would cause and how much time of my anticipated dream would be wasted trying to eradicate this problem. I contacted the city, who told me the best I could do was check the market to see what remedies were available to deter them. I also learned that the state of Florida would allow iguanas to be humanely eradicated, as they are not native to this state. They, like the boa constrictor and pythons, were brought in by pet enthusiasts in the 60s and 70s, and many owners were unable to provide for them. So over time, they have adapted to their new environment, reproducing rapidly and spreading across the state. The lack of natural predators in Florida has further facilitated their proliferation. The impact of these invasive species on our ecosystems cannot be overstated. They're known to burrow, undermine sidewalks, seawalls, and foundations. I opted to purchase large quantities of iguana rid and other similar products that were supposed to do the trick, but to no avail. I tried cayenne pepper, garlic, silver pinwheels and trees, water guns, nets and chicken wire, dish soap, soap shavings, laundry powder, bird spikes, plastic panels, metal borders, Epsom salt, vinegar, borax, high-frequency whistles, and even bobcat urine. Nothing worked. I watched them devour everything from my hibiscus bushes, cherry hedges, bird of paradise, plumerarias, bougainvillea, orchids, frangipanis, gardenias, my neighbor's fruit trees, and even bird eggs. My dream of enjoying my garden was gone. They defecate salmonella-laden feces on my seawall and sidewalks minutes after I pressure cleaned them. They urinated from the trees that I sit beneath. They dig holes everywhere to lay up to 80 eggs in the yard. I have divots everywhere. I called a foundation company to repair cracks in my seawall, only to be told it was due to the most part to iguanas digging, and I need to focus my attention on the cracks that were sinking my house because of the same problem. I am currently in debt of $14,000 for these repairs. I finally resorted to filling a detergent bottle with soapy water and literally chasing them, sometimes up to 12 times a day. That resulted in a fall last week that almost landed me over the seawall. I finally felt solace in that my HOA decided to send a couple of skilled shooters to alleviate the iguana problem. For the first time, I saw lilies blooming and colors returning to my trees. Imagine my disappointment to hear that the city of Margate doesn't condone killing iguanas and called it to a halt, with officers actually appearing at my hero's doors. I fear if we're not able to control these pests, I'll be left to sit at my back window and watch the colorful array of trees, plants, and flowers that used to inhabit beautiful butterflies and bees disappear into a deluge of foul-smelling, fly-infested feces, while my dreams slowly fade away into my bitter reality. I would have fared better renting an apartment in the city than living in what is erroneously called Paradise Gardens. Thank you.
Thank you.
Patrick. I also live in Paradise Gardens 4. Last summer, I'm sitting at my kitchen table, and I literally counted 41 baby iguanas coming out of the ground. This year, they came back, and I came home from work, and I constantly find holes all over the place. So I'm trying to figure out with my neighbor what's going on here, and come to find out the iguanas are digging. They've burrowed between my house and my neighbor's house. I was just walking the other day, and the ground collapsed below me because of the burrowing of these iguanas. So I'm trying to find out what is going to be done about this. It's causing a lot of issues. As I said, the ground collapsed below me, almost twisted my ankle. And 40 plus iguanas out of the ground last year. They're back again this year. What can we do about this?
Well, that's what we're voting on tonight, is to allow people on their own property, or if you invite someone onto your property, that they can kill them.
However, that doesn't help burrowing iguanas who have babies under the earth. That's not what they're asking to do. There's nothing that anybody's going to be able to do about that unless you hire someone who does that for a living, because shooting them after they come out doesn't help you. Your ground is sinking because they're underneath it. That's not going to answer your question. You can't do it, that doesn't resolve it.
But it appears to me that Margate is trying to create a contradiction with what the state has already permitted. And you're denying me my right to protect my property. I have the same issues, and I've tried a million things, and it just doesn't work. And I have the right to invite someone on my property to humanely take care of the iguanas, and I think you're denying me that right.
The state actually encourages euthanizing them.
That's correct. Thank you.
Thank you.
To address one of the issues about shooting from the canal, my understanding is that if you're in a boat, Fish and Wildlife lets you shoot from a boat. There's nothing that the city can do about it or anybody else can do about it because it's state law.
You can shoot from a boat, but you can't shoot into someone's property.
Well, then that's
You
contradictory.
can shoot from a boat. That's all I'm saying.
You can shoot from a boat.
We're going either way, it's not going to change that. You can still shoot
I would
from
just
a
let
boat.
him speak for his 3 minutes and then address those issues.
All right, so to address Arlene's concerns about letters, yes, myself, John, and a few other people on the board have gotten calls about people shooting. None of us that got together and started doing this a while back are doing this. We all stopped. Once we got notification from the city, we stopped. We addressed this the proper way, and that's kind of how we're proceeding. We decided not to do anything till y'all decide tonight which way this is going. Now, as far as moving forward, if this gets passed tonight, we are going to redo our letter of authorization, going to the neighbors, getting them to sit there and say that we would give permission to certain people on the board or whoever PG4 decides to go onto their property to kill iguanas. We're just not going to do it haphazardly. And we're also going to make sure that these people are approved by the board to shoot iguanas in Paradise Gardens 4. So we're just not going to let anybody go out and just do this rampantly within our thing. But as far as like what you might have got, Arlene, yes, we've gotten calls ourselves that somebody's out there doing it and we don't know who they are.
And saying that they're approved by you.
No.
That's
No,
what I'm
no,
telling,
that-
I'm not saying you did. I'm telling you what they're
Oh,
telling
no,
people.
we've gotten calls that saying that there are been approved. John, we got a call today, John got one, and they've said that they have been approved by John. We don't know who they are. We have no idea who they are. But, you know, right now, since we've stopped shooting, I get at least one phone call a day by terrified residents. And as Gwen said, they've tried everything under the sun that all these people say that's supposed to work, supposed to scare them away. They're not scared. You know, they don't run away from you, especially the big ones. They don't run. They're not scared of you one little bit. So I do hope y'all make the right decision tonight and help us save our piece of paradise. Thank you for your time.
Another beautiful day in Margate. All right, this is an education for everyone here. This was in the Sun Sentinel the last couple of weeks. I don't know how many of you are here read the Sun Sentinel. But this is what we're facing. If we, another question is talk, is it legal to fish in Margate? Can we actually catch a fish if it dies? I mean, cut the head off and whatever. Are we allowed to do that? I don't know. I just started thinking that. Anyways, big predator lizards seem unentrappable in South Florida. So it goes on to say 6-foot predatory lizards normally found along the Nile River in Africa have set up shop in South Florida. Nile monitors, which can grow to just over 6 feet and about 20 pounds, have been living in South Florida. The lizards are fast and even seem untrappable. So it goes on to say, we're first introduced to Florida by exotic pet trade, the same industry that brought in iguanas, Burmese pythons. Florida made it illegal to possess a Nile monitor in 2021. In fact, they're finding Nile monitor, some kids had them as teens. They're very aggressive, were bit multiple times, and it hurt. This was a juvenile, maybe 16 inches long. Goes on to say, like iguanas, they're active in the daytime, take shelter in burrows or trees at night, and dig burrows that erode and collapse sidewalks, seawalls, and canal banks. Sounds kind of familiar, doesn't it? But unlike iguanas, they're predators. They compete with and eat native wildlife. The Florida Wildlife said they are considered invasive. Among things they consume are birds and their eggs, burrowing owls, songbirds, turtles, turtle eggs, frogs, crabs, fish, snakes, small mammals, and even young alligators or crocodiles. They eat invasive species such as green iguanas. So maybe that's what we need, these monitors to come in and clean it up. Also, they could eat the poisonous invasive toads. Seemingly no ill effects. They're immune to the poison of the toads. These things are pretty hybrid. They're tough to control for a few reasons. They highly reproductive, lay 12 to 60 eggs per clutch, and they're skittish and fast. They're amazing swimmers. They're allowed to take them out. You have to obey anti-cruelty laws, and you can't just shoot them anywhere you see them.
You got 15 seconds.
Okay. They must be humanely killed on private property, landowner permission, or on specific state-managed land in Florida. Their population in the last 3 years has gone up like 15 times. So this is what's coming if we don't start to address what we have now, as far as what we can take out. Nile monitors will clean it up for us.
So you're going to ask us next to include them.
Yeah.
And then you'll come the Egyptian geese and the ducks, because quite frankly, I don't like what they do on my property, but I'm not about to shoot them.
Oh, and PG4, just to note, we do have a sanctuary trees. People don't let us go on their property, so we honor it. I got one a couple houses down for you. They love the mango trees, and it's a sanctuary. So we stay off those. So we do respect what the landowners want. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Like I said, I've been here twice already for the meeting, and I know we're going to make a ruling on it. I hope you guys rule it in a way, because I'm a person, when they're on my property, I'll get rid of them. Simple as that. There's people that's there, they eat them. And if you guys want to hire me in Margate, I mean, I'll get rid of them for you. I'm a fisherman. I do a lot of stuff. So I'm here for the resident. I live there. And if somebody's in trouble, I'm there to help them. So they definitely are a terrible kind of, how would I say, invasive animal. They go on the roofs. They go down in your toilet. They go everywhere. They're just a nuisance, you know? And they multiply like crazy. So we definitely have to do something about it. I mean, Margate, come on, let's keep our paradise going, like they said, you know? All right? Thank you.
Arlene, could you tell me who wrote the letters to you?
I'm not going to take up your time, but when you're all done, I'm sorry. When you're
I
all
would just-
done, I will read some of what was written to me, including the phone calls I've gotten, but this is your time,
Were
John.
they anonymous or?
No, no, not everyone.
Okay, I just had a question.
No.
Okay, we've heard a lot of stories now, how dangerous they are, the disease they carry. We've heard people come in here and give you testimony that they're afraid to go out of their houses. They're hanging by the doors. We've heard stories about people falling. I told you last time, Marie Brown, who was an avid gardener, she ended up breaking her ankle and falling down and ended up losing her house and going to a nursing home because of it. My personal story about the dogs. We all know that these things are a problem, You see them dead in the roads all the time. End of our streets, you see them laying dead in the road, and there's flies all over them. We know we've got to handle this problem. It's not a matter of whether it's right or wrong. We know what the right thing to do is. The question is how we go about doing this. And so we don't want people, running up and down, in the canal banks on other people's property, shooting in all directions. And we don't want that. And nobody's going to condone that in our community, in Paradise Garden, Section 4, or anywhere in the city. We've instituted a set of rules and regulations, that we try to approach this thing, responsibly. And I would think that the city would want to support us in this to make sure that everybody in the community, in the city, goes about doing this responsibly. And so I would encourage, if somebody sees something that's inappropriate, they still continue to call animal control, have them come out and attempt to, resolve the issue. But to deny us our rights to protect our own property seems to be terribly in conflict with Florida law. And if somebody challenges this thing, okay, say we go before the magistrate, and then they say, okay, well, it's $50. Okay, $50 is $50. And they appeal. Say, no, you can't do that. This is improper. At some point in time, this begins to escalate. And it could end up, in a court of law and maybe Supreme Court, whatever. And then you got Florida Wildlife Commission on one side and the city of Margate standing on the other side. I don't think you want to be there. I think we need to just go on ahead and let the people protect their properties and then just deal with these issues, whatever few of them that come up after the fact. I think we know what those problems are, and I think the city has the ability to resolve those without, having the properties continue to be damaged. That's all I got to say.
When I first heard about this issue, I was appalled that, oh my God, they're killing so many of them. They're killing so many of them. I had no idea. I was totally ignorant at what was going on and what these animals do. It is a shame that they have to be killed, but something has to be done. We have to protect the residents. We have to protect the homes that we have here. There has to be a way. I want to understand what you are trying to do is passing that they cannot kill, or that they can kill as long as they have authorization from the homeowner. They can.
Currently, I paused your time. Okay. Margate does not allow you to kill any animal, not even a cockroach. Okay. But the state of Florida allows you to kill invasive species, which one of them happens to be iguanas. The state actually encourages you, when you come across certain invasive species, to kill them. Lionfish, iguanas, and the pythons are ones that they absolutely encourage you, if you're capable, to capture and kill them. What we're deciding on tonight would basically allow someone to kill an invasive species. As far as Florida law is concerned, they're already allowed to do it. As long as it's their property or they have permission from the property owner, you can kill them anywhere in the state of Florida. It's just Margate has an ordinance saying you can't kill any animal.
Okay, so Margate is the one that's saying you cannot kill the iguana. So what we're trying to do today, why not allow a certain group of people a permit for a temporary, maybe 6 months, to get them, see what happens during that time, and allow them to do that. And then we can see that if there's a difference, if something makes a change, if something changes, if there's an improvement, but they need help. They need to get this issue taken care of. They need to protect their properties. They need to protect their pets. They need to protect themselves from it. And I don't like killing animals, but this is something that is really serious. This is a serious issue going on, and the city should help and allow for something to be done. Thank you.
I've been living in Margate for over 21 years. I thought I found a solution about 5 years ago. I have a little dog named Snoopy, and he was catching them. I was keeping track of that, but I was stupid. One of my friends in the community, Elaine Stewart, said, my daughter is a veterinarian, you better talk to her. And she told me, if your dog continues to kill iguanas, it's gonna die, because the iguanas in Florida are very invasive, and they carry so many viruses that are going to kill your dog. So my problem was not solved. I was very ignorant. Now, when John Donahue and Mr. Duff They said that we're going to kill it. I thought the problem was resolved. You got to help us, please. I know, we men are very stupid. Women are more intelligent than we are. Let's face it. And I'm glad that we have a mayor that is a female. And
Well, keep it up.
no, listen, I am a volunteer at the senior center. I was a volunteer in the library. Every time I see you, I feel that the city is in good hands. So I hope that I know that people are sending you letters, and there are some people who feed the iguanas, and they are not even members of PG4. But please help us. We need them. We really are under stress. And my dog is also stressed out. He wants to catch them. I said, no. Dr. Stewart said no, and the mayor said no. So I'm going to keep the kid under hold. I inherited a garden from my wife, and I grow papayas, tomatoes, bananas, soursop, and I give it to the community like you do with your mangoes. I know that you are like me. Well, I feed the community. People are allowed to take whatever they want from my yard, and there is no violence in my part. I'm very happy because it's something that I inherited from the lady that I love for 49 years. So I will appreciate that you take that in consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Every time I open my front door, I have to look up and down to make sure it's not one on the wall. 2 days ago, it was one on the wall. I almost had a fit. I got my shovel. I went out there and I kept missing him. He came up so high that he stood at me and said, "You can't get me now." I said, "You summer sucker." But I didn't know they make those holes in the ground. Because I wonder why. I'm saying, why is some of the grass is so deep? I mean, some of them, the grass is missing. So that's what they are. They living in their nest is in my yard. Huh?
They burrow underneath. They don't come up and dig that way. They burrow from underneath.
They about, okay, because I see some sinking there, and I've been putting dirt.
That's something else. That's moles? That's moles.
Oh, well, please help us. I can't live with those things. Because every time, like I say, I go out my door, I got to look up and down to make sure it's not one on the wall. I live by myself. I ain't got time to kill them. Okay?
Thank you. Anybody else we've missed? Any of our city commissioners on Zoom with anything to say? And that
I just
means-
had one more quick thing.
Go ahead.
I got the same emails, and you're going to hear them tonight. And what's described in them is illegal and would be illegal even if we passed it today. You can shoot from a boat. You cannot shoot onto someone's property without their permission. So if you're going down C-14, she probably doesn't want to hear me say that, but that's all South Florida management. With you, you're in the Everglades, you can shoot from a boat wherever you want. You're on public park area, whatever, shoot from a boat, not public park as in like a refuge. But you can't shoot from a boat into someone's private property. So the emails that you're going to hear tonight, I just want to let everyone know, would still be illegal even if we pass this tonight. They're still breaking the law. So we're not going to vote and then all of a sudden they're just going to be allowed to do this. They're not.
Actually, I didn't have one thing I was going to read about shooting from the C-14 canal. But that would be the only one I would be talking about if I was talking about somebody on the boat, because that's the only thing I see.
About people shooting.
I don't have that. Okay. I don't have that one.
I got emails from residents concerned that they saw people coming down the boats as described earlier, shooting into their property. And I'm concerned, and I'm just going to tell them that that would still be illegal unless they move them that way.
You're my, oh. All right, then it's my turn. I live on the C-14 canal. We're not going to discuss the 15 feet of bank that I've lost because iguanas live there. I bought the property, they came with it. There may be more of them now than there used to be before, and the South Florida Water Management District doesn't care because they have stood on my banks and seen what has happened on my side, even though we all pay taxes to them. Here's my concern. My concern, and I will read some of this from some, and I just killed an ant, so if anybody wants to report me, apparently it's an animal. My concern is this. Not everyone is that good with an air gun or a pellet gun. And by the way, a BB shot a hole right through my front window, and it definitely had force because it shattered the window. So BB guns are dangerous as well. My My concern is that not everybody should have any kind of weapon, regardless of what it shoots, in its hand, when there are people who actually do this for a living. And so maybe someone wouldn't have had to be stuck with $13,000 worth of debt. So I'm going to read you something that some of your neighbors have written me, because there's two sides to every story. This one says, I'm extremely concerned about making it legal in Margate to shoot and kill iguanas. This puts the safety of children, seniors, and our pets at risk. The communities in Margate have very small yards. That's true. The houses are 10 feet apart from each other. We basically share small yards and our neighbors with our neighbors because they're connected. If you allow someone to shoot on their own property, then you are allowing them to shoot in their neighbors' yards, given the close proximity. You can't allow everyone to run around shooting on residential property. They're going to miss and kill someone's pet. Iguanas run quickly, so it's reckless to expect that people shooting in the heat of the moment are going to care if they don't hit them. I live in Paradise Gardens 4. I have neighbors recklessly shooting iguanas all up and down the canal. No boats. I've had neighbors shoot in and towards my yard where my pets are sitting. Then it talks about boats, which we can't do anything about. But the fact that they climb onto the yards. It says ducks and birds are also invasive species. Should we be killing them as well? Then the next letter also says the same thing. While I acknowledge that iguanas can be a nuisance in certain situations, I strongly believe that the proposed method of population control, particularly the allowance of citizens to openly shoot iguanas with pellet guns, poses significant and unacceptable risk to the safety of Margate, their pets, and the welfare. Well, I'm not going to worry about the welfare of the iguanas, to be very honest with you. And it says that I do not hear section 1, 2, or 3 or the rest of Margate residents wanting a change. Do I get the fact that there's a problem? Yes, I've lived with it for 42 years, probably longer than any of you. Do I think that it's right for certain people, without proving to me that their aim is really good, to be able to do this when there are companies that do this for a living and are permitted to do so? No, I don't think that's a really good idea. Have I had a window shot out by a BB gun? Yes, I have. Have I seen destruction? I've lost 15 feet of bank. But I don't think it's a good idea for people to walk around with guns shooting with or without their neighbor's permission when no one has shown me that those people are capable of hitting the target the first time. It's a dangerous sport playing with those guns. So I get it, and you have to, and up until recently, you had to prove that you had at least taken some kind of protection to do so. Does that make it okay that any jackass can walk around with a gun now and buy something and shoot something and not prove that they have any proficiency? That doesn't make that okay. Because you can doesn't mean you should. So I have a problem with that. And I don't think you're eradicating the population unless you're getting the eggs. Because there are many invasive species. So this person asks, are we going to take care of Egyptian geese next and regular Muscovy ducks because they're invasive as well? And I don't have an answer for that, because now I'm hearing that there are monitor lizards that are even bigger. So then will we open the door for that next? I don't think it's necessarily a good idea, because no one's proven to me, and you guys may be sharpshooters, you may be, and I think, all I can think of is Annie Oakley, and that doesn't seem right. But you can be whomever. But we don't know that the next person who picks up one of these guns or takes their kid out with them to go hunting iguanas, which I watch all the time, know what they're doing. An arrow has to have a backstop eventually. There has to be something there to stop the arrow from flying, or it will indiscriminately hit someone. What does that with a pellet gun, an air rifle, or any of the rest of the stuff? And I believe wholeheartedly, as I listen to actual guns being shot 20 feet from me, that there will be people using live ammunition, because who will know the difference? So I feel your pain, I have your pain, but I can't support doing this, because while the three of you, soon to be only two, may be proficient in doing this, I don't know that the rest of the city has people who are. And when somebody gets hurt, and the idea that it only hurts a little, shouldn't have to hurt at all. Shouldn't have to happen, or a little dog gets hit, or whatever it is. So I can't support this. Do I expect it to pass? Yes. but I can't support it because I think it's the wrong way to go about it when there are people who do it for a living and might actually take care of the eggs as well, which is really where your problem is. If they don't reproduce, then you don't have a problem. Killing them after the effect doesn't help what's going to happen the next year. So that's just my opinion. Commissioner Simone, I see your light is on.
Yeah, maybe I'm an optimist, but I don't think we're going to have a bunch of people running around Margate buying air rifles or air pistols to go and kill these iguanas. I just don't see that happening. I think the people who have a problem are going to be the ones who are going to take care of it responsibly. I know one of my neighbors was telling me that he had a dog out in his yard, 4-foot iguana came, and the iguana swirled his tail to hit his dog. And actually, it was such force that missed the dog, but hit his plastic chair and split the leg of the chair. So these are not, good animals. And what we're allowing is people's property to continue to be ruined. And what's that going to be for Margate? We're going to be living in sinkholes because people's seawalls are going to start collapsing, and then whose responsibility is that going to be? People's foundations are going to be collapsing. Whose responsibility is that going to be? So I think we need to do something to take care of this before we have a bigger problem with things collapsing, houses and seawalls continuing to collapse in Margate. I don't like to kill any animal, but these are not good animals. I don't think people are going to be, if a iguana is running, I can't see people. All the videos I've watched, they're still, exactly. The iguanas they're not going to shoot them when the iguana is running. They shoot them when the iguana is still because they know where to shoot them. So I think all this talk about we're going to have people running around with air rifles in Margate is just a bunch of nonsense. I don't see it happening.
They stay still. They stay still. They use a scope on a rifle. It's a chip shot. I mean, really, a 10-year-old can pick it up and probably shoot
That's
him
a
right in the
problem.
head the first time.
That's a problem.
Well, it depends how you look at it. But,
You
as
would
far
not
as...
have a problem with a 10-year-old going out and shooting an iguana?
I would take, if I had a son, or maybe if my daughter wants to go, I would go take her hunting. No
That's
problem.
a good reason for why I couldn't vote. Now you proved the reason why I couldn't
No
vote for
problem.
this.
You don't pass this or not, well, guess what? People can still walk around with guns. You want to know why? Because in Florida, you can carry a gun to and from fishing openly.
Yeah.
So someone could go right now with an AR-15 and walk down and fish, and there's nothing we can do about it. But
Couldn't do about it anyway.
We couldn't do nothing about it, but we're worried about a couple people shooting the iguanas and the pelican. I don't know.
No, I'm worried about getting sued when we change the law and someone gets hurt because the city of
We're
Margate
just
chose to do that.
compliant with the state of Florida. How are we going to get sued?
Okay.
We're not the ones doing it.
Like I said, I fully expect it to pass. I have an opinion. I'm not arguing with you over yours. I have an opinion. I live on a canal where I see this, whether it's legal or not to tell them they can or not, I see it. I see them, kids on the other side with their feet on the ground, not in a boat, walking around and doing this. That concerns me because there's not that much. That's right. And I called the city manager when I saw the people with their actual guns shooting and stepping on the ground. Catch them. That doesn't make it okay if you can't catch them. Okay, in that case, we're just going to call the roll because everyone who's wanted to speak has. No commissioners' hands are raised, so please call the roll.
Commissioner Rosano?
Yes.
Caggiano?
Mayor, I agree with you, but people need to protect their homes, so I'm going to go yes.
Okay.
Wow.
Commissioner Simone?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Serio?
Yes.
Mayor Schwartz?
And for the people who wrote me, I'll vote no because I know it's going to pass anyway, so it doesn't matter. Congratulations. Please be really careful and please make sure that the people who are showing up who say they have your permission have some kind of paper in it that proves they have your permission.
Agree.
No, you can't.
Stop.
Talk to me afterwards, but you can't call from there anymore.
That's it. That's it.
No, as the effective date is, it is now passed, so it will become
It's effective as of this evening.
tonight. Try not to shoot anything tonight.
Happy hunting.
Meeting adjourned.
Can I join you?